Hi, Gareth here, and welcome to this lesson. So we're going to paint a winter tree. So the first thing I'm using is a mop brush. So get some water, dab on my rag, and then I'm going to get some yellow ochre. My yellow ochre is very dirty. Just cleaning it a bit. Okay, looking better now. So I'm going to have my sun about here, and I just do circular strokes like that, and slowly I get a small white circle. That's going to be the sun. And then here I've got something here, some rubbish. Put that in the water. And then here we go. So I'm going to cover all of this with yellow ochre. And then come down here, and then just to keep that wet, I'm going to add a lot of water here. Now I'm going to get some red, and I'm using alizarin crimson. Ooh, that's too thick. I've got some bits, maybe they're from the tissue, I don't know. Okay, so start about here from the outside, and I'm just going to spray this because it's drying out. Now you don't spray at the paper, you spray horizontally, and you let the drops fall down onto the paper like rain. Okay, wet that, soften it, back in again, and I'm doing a curving, slightly circular stroke. There we go. And I'm blending my colours on the paper. That looks more vibrant in my opinion. Wash the brush, dab on the rag, then on the tissue, and I'm going to wipe up this paint because now I'm going to add some blue there, and I don't really want it to mix too much with the yellow ochre or the red. So the colour I'm using is Phthalo blue. It's a beautiful blue, and here we go. And hopefully it's going to blend and give me a purple. There we go. And just a bit more blue in this corner. And that will do. Then spray again. And not spraying at the paper, spraying horizontally. Okay, yellow ochre down here. Just stick a load of it down here. I'm trying to do it fairly quickly, but don't go so quick that you get lots of splatter that can go into your sky area. Lovely. Now this is an early morning scene, and we're going to have some faint light purple or lilac clouds rising up. I really like those kind of clouds. And now I'm using my pointed oval, which is my favorite brush. So first I'm going to get some red, then a touch of my Cobalt turquoise light. I will just call it turquoise. And add a lot of water to that. And I think that's about ready. And let's see, maybe more blue. Ooh. Let's see what this looks like. And it's lovely and soft. Just don't want too much. And then continue here. And then cross like that. And that's it. Finished. Let's leave that to dry. Now it has dried, and I'm going to get my flat brush and I'm going to do a dark foreground. So phthalo blue, a touch of alizarin crimson, a touch of yellow ochre, let's try it out. I think that's quite nice. Then I'm going to get my bamboo brush and a touch of the turquoise and a touch of yellow ochre. Gives me a green, but I want to make it a bit grayer. So I'm going to add some alizarin crimson. Too much. So it's a grey green colour. And here we go. There's going to be a gap here. And then in the distance, going to have bushes and trees. Well, mostly just bushes. So as the brush dries out, it's much easier to get that dry brush effect. It's actually drying here too much, so let's spray. And remember, never spray at the paper, spray horizontally and let the drops fall down like rain. So here's a more distant hedgerow. I think that looks quite nice, and then a bit of a hedge going across like that. Some nice dry brush hopefully here. So here is going to be the top of a hedgerow. So I'm going to do the bottom first. So dark mix, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. Let's go in like this. Wow. And then on top of that, I'm going to use my Imidazolone yellow. Touch of this blue. Wow. Touch of yellow ochre. And then play around with this until I get the kind of green I want. I think that's it. Maybe this is like winter time, but slowly coming out of winter and becoming spring. But it might not look like this. This is from my imagination, to be honest. Well, yeah, from my imagination. But I quite like it. And we can have those sun's rays coming like this, and the angle will become more extreme. Here it's coming down, and then over here, like that. I think that looks nice. So maybe with this hedge we could make it a little bit more dry brush would be nice, but a bit difficult. For me anyway. There we go. And a little bit more light like that. Okay, get some direction there. And then down here, getting a load of yellow now, lots of yellow, and let's just do some lines. I've got a pool of paint at the bottom here, so mop that up with tissue. And then here we go with this. I want a nice angle here. And then eventually it's going like this. Oh, I think that looks quite nice. Isn't that colour just beautiful? Really glowing. Okay, I think that's quite nice. Then we're going to do our winter tree. So this is the main thing, and this is also the most difficult thing. So I'm using this bamboo brush. You could use a liner brush, but I think this is better because it's got a thickness to it and a thinness to it, both. So I'm making a mix from blue, red and yellow ochre, and I'm just playing around with it until I get a dark brown. It looks a bit purple at the moment, so that means too much red. So it needs more blue and more yellow ochre, and I think now we've got it. Just be careful if you get too enthusiastic when you're mixing. You can splatter your paper. I've done that quite a few times. Okay, so here we go. Start at the bottom, and we can start thick. That's why it's good to start at the bottom, because you can be really thick there, but you've got to become thinner up here. And notice how I put a bend in there, because trees tend to be a bit bendy. I say that because I'm sure there's some trees that are very straight. Nature's always full of surprises, right? So I'm sure there are, is it poplars? I think they're very straight. So all I'm doing now is just these little thin twigs coming out. Be careful to make them all different. And it's basically, they're just coming out like that. There might be a branch down here that's a bit wayward. You get these wayward branches because trees are beautiful but crazy looking things and extremely complicated. So we can't draw all the branches. Well, you could, but I'm not going to. I'm just trying to suggest. And shall I have a branch going down like this? Goodness me. I'm being quite brave today. I'm not sure if that was a good idea. Those two look like they're connected. I'll try and make this one a bit thicker. And maybe I can make this one come down a bit more like this. But they still look connected. So that wasn't such a good idea, but I'll just continue. And I'm going to spray it because it's drying out. Remember, spray horizontally. Ooh, maybe I went out a bit too much there, but we'll go with it. Okay, I'm not sure about that. It looks more like a symbolic tree now. And we'll just put some green in here. Hopefully it's going to fit in a bit more naturally. I think it's not too bad. Okay, let's do a few more branches. If you get too much water on your brush, then you'll get thicker marks. So, of course, if there's not enough water on your brush, you'll get very dry marks. Sometimes too dry. So now I'm squinting my eyes. Oh, that actually, I think I'm going to get away with this one. It really is a bit like that sometimes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Why did you have to do that? It didn't connect. It went under. Okay. Yeah, but I think that's good. Okay, now let's do a shadow. So we've got the sun here, so maybe we've got a shadow that's kind of like this, and then maybe going across the field like this. Ooh, very dramatic, but it will fade. trust me. And it might fade too much. Yeah, I think I've made that trunk bit look better. So I think that's safe now. I'm taking my clips off at the bottom. Oh, by the way, I'm delighted to say this paper called Lamplight, I think you can get it in other countries apart from Japan. And it's amazing paper. It's absolutely amazing paper. And it's not that expensive either compared to some watercolor papers. Just the colors look so beautiful on this paper. Okay, so last thing is splatter. So I'm going to put some scrap paper down here, and I'm going to get some of my yellow, Imidazolone yellow. Who thought of that name? And here we go, splatter. Now you have to hold this scrap paper really low, because this splattering technique, you'll find that paint just goes absolutely everywhere. This is an exercise in controlling chaos. Controlling chaos. Sounds good, doesn't it? Okay, that's good. Get a bit more of this. And here. And we might want to reinforce a few of these lines again. Oh, sometimes you go wrong with your lines. Don't worry about it. You can always go over it again with a yellow, which I might do there, but it doesn't really need it actually, but I might just do a yellow there. And I think that looks quite nice. There's a real nice effect appearing here, but I've got this line. Look at that line. How naughty. So what we can do is, I don't want to show you corrective techniques, but it's going to happen, right? Just scrub into it. This is called being aggressive in watercolor painting. Yeah, this is about as aggressive as we get. Really scrub into it. And if you're lucky, it will start to disappear. There's actually a lot of playing around with watercolor that you can do, and the more experienced you get, the more you'll realize that you can play around with a lot of things. Not everything, but a lot of things you can play around with, and in the process actually learn quite a lot of things. Okay, and this is just a technique I did, and you don't have to do this, but I think it looks really good. And it's just doing these lines like this. I think it ends up looking really dramatic and powerful. At the end of the day, I'll do whatever it takes to make an amazing image. So that's my number one thing. And I think that's looking really lovely. It's, yeah, there's a kind of movement, a feeling of light moving over the hedgerow. Probably a bit over the top actually. So, but that's okay because it's art, and over the top is kind of good. So one of the things I'm going to do now Can you believe I spent 20 minutes doing that wash? So get my pointed oval, my favorite brush, use some tissue, and at the bottom here we're just going to wipe up this paint because we've got lots of paint. Wipe again, it got saturated. We've got lots of paint building up here, and if we don't remove this paint, then it's going to create a cauliflower. There we go. Oh, isn't that lovely? So let's leave that to dry. It has now dried pretty much, and I'm looking at it and I can see here in the distance it's kind of white and it looks like snow. I kind of like it, but it's not very natural. So what I'm going to do is a light green or a pale green wash in the distance, and I'm just going to paint over the bushes. It's very easy. So I take some of this, maybe take some of this. Let's use what we've got. That looks pretty good to me. And then I might make it even weaker. Now you don't want to do this many times, like brush the same area many times, because you might start to shift paint. I think that looks good. And then let's do over here. Then I'm just having a look and a think. And I think that's quite nice. I could make it more yellow, but then it might start to interfere with the yellow here. Whereas at the moment, it just provides a very nice background, and background should always be like a second actor. So they should always be in a supporting role, I suppose. So I think that's it. So we could add some birds, but maybe another time. So please have a go and let me know how you get on. I hope you enjoy it, and bye for now.